Fantastic. All right, folks, I'd love to know where you are in the world. Just type in the box where you are. We've got London, we've got Kent, from the Toon, I'll read there.
Newcastle, Leicester,
Leicester, Rotherham, Brighton,
Sheffield,
Nottingham.
Loads
of people all over the country. Brilliant.
West London.
So we'll just give it a minute or two for people to join us. Scarborough, hey.
Somebody from St Vincent. Oh no, that is Vincent. Sorry, I thought it was St Vincent.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Caribbean. Sorry.
So another thing I'd like to do is just get a sense check of who we're talking to. How many are currently investing? Who has one or more properties? Just type me or yes in the chat box for me. Quite a few. Oh yes, loads of you. Okay, who's planning on investing for the first time, i.e. you haven't bought a property yet? Who has not bought a property? Okay, one or two of you. Excellent. About to complete on the first one, says Richard. Well done, congratulations. Jamie, he's looking to start his investing. Fabulous. All right. And who's planning on adding to their portfolio over the next 12 months then? That's always a good one. Seems to be in all the surveys I read. So Leanne, Stephen, Millicent, Abby, Elizabeth. Excellent, good. So it looks like then we're talking to active people, which is great. Very excited about that. That's good. So this is likely to go on for about an hour, no more than that. I just want to manage everybody's expectations. So if you haven't had your tea yet and your tummy's rumbling, then you haven't. Well, you can have it while you're watching. I don't mind. But about an hour. Who's actually, one last question, who's been on our, apart from Toby and Leanne, I do know you've been on our webinars before. In fact, you've been speaking. Who's been on these webinars before? Just again, if you wouldn't mind saying me or yes in the chat box, that'd be great. Yes, on the last one, Richard. Yeah, I think I recognize your name, Richard. Margaret. Okay, so a few of you. All right, cool. Okay, well, let's get cracking, shall we? Welcome everybody to Always Keep Learning. This is the third in our series of webinars from the Association of Professional Property Investors. I'm Simon Evison. Good evening. Now, here's a question for you. Why does a successful investor always keep learning? The answer is quite simple. If you don't, you will get left behind. Just to sort of illustrate that for you, I've run seminars all over the country for quite a number of years, training seminars, introductory seminars, all that sort of thing. And I can think of quite a number of times, and it's usually at the intro seminars, when somebody will come up to me and say, yeah, but property investing, you know, it's not what it was. You can't, it just doesn't work anymore. And there's usually a very good reason for that. It's because they were doing, or they're doing now, what they started doing 20 years. So they're out of date. They haven't updated yourself. So my point is, it's critical for the success of your property business to, no matter how large it is, or small for that matter, that you update yourself regularly. Now, here's another question then that I'd like a response from. Who struggles to get deals accepted on a consistent basis? Just type me in the box, if you would, in the chat box for me, if that is you. Excellent number of you, then you are in the right place. Tonight we aim to help you with that. Our special guest, Vince Pretorius, is going to share some of his techniques for filling his funnel, things that actually work, that really work now in today's sort of environment. Obviously, we're only going to be scratching the surface, but I guarantee by the end of this webinar, Vince will have given some golden nuggets to you, and you will get value from what he's sharing tonight. Also, I'm going to be talking with our founder and chairman, Lindsay Hopkins. He'll be sharing with you some of the essential information about the Association of Professional Property Investors, what we are, what we do, all that sort of stuff. And something that we're going to talk about is networking, but we are far more than that. We are a professional body, and we'll tell you more about that as we go through this evening. Also, another one of our guests, you can see her on the screen there, Haj Pawar, one of our founder members. who understands the value of growing her knowledge and continuing to learn is important to her. And we'll talk a little bit about that, her experiences within the A.P.P.I, what knowledge she's gained and how it's benefited her and how she continues to learn. And by the end of the webinar, we'll show you how you too can get involved. People don't always join us, but by the end of this presentation, many do. But first, Lindsay, I'm going to come to you. Good evening.
Good evening, Simon.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. A lot of people will be asking this question, and that is, what is the Association of Professional Property Investors? Why don't you sort of explain what the A.P.P.I is all about?
Well, I can talk for hours about the A.P.P.I, but you just cut me off when you want. As you said, it is a professional association. It's an association for professionals within the property investor world. It's unique because it's been built by property investors for property investors. It's not just landlords, it's everybody involved in property. It's a collaboration, it's support, it's help, it's protection, it's learning, it's sharing, it's buddying, and it's on the basis of its continual growth, it is a louder and louder voice to the world at large, and an ever-evolving commercial collaboration on the basis that we are the good people. We're the good property people.
That's good, because the press gives the property investors such a bad name. Now, you talked about support there. What sort of forms does the support take, and the collaboration?
The support is all over the place, in as much as should you bump into issues, we will be there to help you and guide you where you, rather than suddenly, for example, instruct a solicitor who's not even used to property stuff, will be able to point you and direct you. The board members within A.P.P.I, in fact, every member in the A.P.P.I signs a code of conduct, in which case, therefore, we are there to reach out and help you. So one of the famous mantras in property is, I'm lonely. So the support is not to be lonely in this journey. I know the word journey isn't allowed in Strictly Come Dancing, but it is here. Because we have a property journey.
7.
So the support is ongoing,
yeah.
And as a member, you're bound to ask me, so I'll preempt the question. That support is basically forever, all the way along your journey as a property investor. And we all know that the greater our success, the more our desire to actually turn full circle and start helping other people. And it's that sort of gang.
Terrific. One of the things that we offer is a members only webinar called Solve My Property Problem.
Yeah.
And that's a monthly thing where you mentioned board members come on and they give advice. We are going to get sort of a little bit into that a bit later on and explain what that is about.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We set up in November 2021, and we've been growing slowly but surely. And my mantra is, apart from anything else, if you like anything that you hear tonight, please join. But apart from anything else, the larger we become, the louder our voice becomes, to protect us, to look after our interests, shape our property world the way we want it to be done. And to have a voice to other people out there, like council, lenders, councils, government.
Well, a comment that you said there, that people can feel lonely, it's something we definitely help with, supportive, collaborative. So folks at home, can you imagine how valuable having a little bit of support is, especially if you're one of those that feels that life out there as an investor, especially if you're new at this, is sometimes is sometimes sort of a little bit lonely. If you want to have more success with investing, I think it's fair to say that you must have this kind of support. Who can see the value of being part of a supportive community? Just give me a yes in the box if that's you, if you agree. One or two coming through. Brilliant, thank you. Now, our first guest, as well as offering his support on the Solve My Property Problem event that we just mentioned there, is Vince. Vince, hello, good evening.
Good evening, Simon. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. Now, you're an experienced investor with know-how across a number of different strategies. You've been involved in property for quite a number of years. We're going to talk specifically about a stumbling block that lots of people come across this evening, aren't you? And that's making your deals actually work once you've done the viewing, and you're going to talk us through that. Yeah,
definitely. And also consistency with viewings. A lot of people just do viewings and then forget about them, and then go, well, it's not working. Why is it not working? And then you find out that they've forgotten what they offered on, when they offered on it, how much they offered. And it's just a little bit of basics just to give people a little bit of guidance, also a bit of focus.
Brilliant.
That you can.
Well, why don't we get into it? Let's share your screen and over to you for about the next 20 minutes or so. And folks, if you've got any questions, do pop them in the box. We'll try and get through any questions at all. But I think most of your questions will be answered during the presentation. That said, let us know what the burning question is anyway, and we'll see if we've got time. Away you go, Vince.
Definitely, yes. If there are any questions that come up, please let me know, and then I'll try and answer them. I might also say, look, I'll get to that because I might come to it later on to save a bit of time. Hello to everybody. Nice and sums up the climate at the moment where I'm from. It's raining, it's cold, it's windy, so pretty sums that up. But today's agenda going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to rattle through a few things, spend a bit of time on others as such, but hopefully we'll cover most things. Go through the standard viewing process. There's going to be a breakdown into 4 parts to give people an idea of the things that I have found useful to me and important for my journey. A toolkit, like everybody else, you need good tools to do good things. Particularly so in the automotive industry, or if you're an electrician or a plumber, good tools go a long way. How to make yourself unforgettable, something I think a lot of people don't realize the power of something like this. It goes a long way when the deal comes in and 2 or 3 people in the office say, actually, you know what, I know exactly who that's for. It just helps you, particularly because estate agents are pretty much a revolving door, like the restaurant business or whatever, catering. They've got a high turnover, so you want to make sure that you stand out for the people that are in the office. And also a health check. This is something I think that's kept me motivated, kept me on track, and also helped me understand where all the viewings are, where all the offers are, and all those sort of things along the way. So with that in mind, we'll start with standard viewing process. As most of you know, Rightmove, newspaper adverts, maybe a shop window, etc., those sort of things.
Oh, I think we have a breakdown in the internet at Vince's end. Oh dear. Okay. While he tries to rectify that, Lindsay, are you there? Let me come to you for a sec. We've lost Vince.
I am here indeed.
We've lost Vince briefly. She'll come back to us. Now, for everybody at home, can you hear Lindsay and I? Are we loud and clear?
Can you see Lindsay? No?
No, you haven't got the camera on. Yes, brilliant. Okay. All right, Lindsay, while Vince sorts himself out, let me talk to you about joining the A.P.P.I. I was going to save it until after he'd finished, but you said we're the good guys, that we are always back.
Vince is back.
Apologies.
Frozen?
We've had a storm in my area, so I'll share my screen again with you guys. So I've just switched from my Wi-Fi to my phone to tether. So if I drop off again, I'll just have to do that again. So if people can just bear with me a little bit, that'll be great.
We got to point 2 on your slide there. So when you just cut out.
Okay, so let's see where I'm at. Cool. So with regards to the areas, like I said, people forget sometimes the area that they're looking in doesn't meet their criteria. So I think it's really important that you know what you're looking for fits in the area that you're looking in. And if it doesn't, change the area. Pretty straightforward. The place I used to find was really good for areas that are developing and growing was Wikipedia. They would do passenger data. This was great before COVID happened. After COVID, obviously everybody worked at home. So it's not as accurate as before, but it's still very good. If you use the data before COVID to now, you can still see that cities are growing, people are using trains and that sort of thing more, and there's more of that transient workforce. So it's really good to see a city growing by that. Another one for more specific, for those more detailed people, check my area. There's really, you can even go postcode specific on this. There's some great stats, school data, things like that, which I think are very, very vital in the journey. Then meeting the agent. This is something I cannot stress enough. You have to do this face to face. You need to build a relationship with this person. Agents are your key to your property investment journey by a long shot. Whether they're still an agent later on or they leave, I can't stress that if you build good rapport with agents, if they go to a different agency, I used to call them traveling men. They'd be at one agency, then they'd move to another agency, then another agency. But you want to have a good rapport with them so that you don't have to then go and rebuild that rapport in another agency. And this is something I always say to people, take some time to build this relationship. Such a key part. I can't stress it enough. I've had agents that have left, gone into totally different business fields or whatever, and brought me deals because of it, because of the relationship that I built with them. One of the things I say to a lot of people is I took a sincere interest in them. I was very, very patient in listening to who they were, what their likes were, what their family setup was, when they went on holiday, even when their birthdays happened, because then they knew that when I spoke to them, and if I texted them, oh, happy birthday today, it was a little thing that kept me ahead of the curve. They knew that I was serious. I wasn't just another investor who's looking for a deal, and then they just take your postcard, your business card, and throw it in the bin. So I try to set myself apart from that as such. And that I put that up there, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Something I always remembered in this industry, listen to them, because they'll learn. You'll learn a lot about the area. Agents sometimes tell you things that they assume are common knowledge. Everybody knows it. And particularly when you're new to an area, you want them to waffle. Good waffling, you learn. You might spot things and hear something that ticks a box for you that you've not told them yet. So there's a really good thing in that. The third part, turning up early. Early bird catches the worm. It also sends a good message. It shows that you value their time and you also value yours. Sometimes when you turn up early, if you're lucky, you get to speak to a vendor, which obviously gives you a bit of an advantage into why they're selling, their situation. Maybe there's a deal to be done. Maybe there's something the agent hasn't told you, or there's potential in a house that you haven't seen, or something like that. I think it's really, really important. The other advantage of turning up early is leafleting 5 houses either side of a viewing. Now, when it comes to a viewing, you've spent all that time researching, phoning the agent, finding a house that ticks your criteria. Why not maximize the time when you go there to maybe find other deals in the process? And one of the ways I used to do that is I would just take 5 leaflets for the houses to the right and to the left, so either side. So I'd be doing 10 leaflets for every viewing I did. Yeah, it's only 10 leaflets. People told me, oh, it's only 10 leaflets. It's not nothing. But when you start adding up, I do 5 viewings a week, 10 viewings a week, 15 viewings a week. That compounding effect of doing leaflets every viewing you've done, it makes you also feel like you actually are doing something. It makes it more useful to you at the time. And you're there anyway. So particularly most agents are late. So you might as well just do leaflets either side. Another thing is pen and paper. Love this. Ties in quite nicely with the next one. Walking around the area. Now, I was fortunate enough to find quite a few interesting deals by just walking the area before I did the viewing, walking up and down the street. And also sometimes I'd see the area from a different light that the agent told me, and I'd be like, I actually don't want to buy a house on this street or this area because I've seen what the street behind or the street behind that looked like, or it wasn't what I was expecting, or I couldn't do the strategy I wanted to because it didn't have the right infrastructure in place. There wasn't a train close by like I thought. There wasn't office employment or blue collar workers employment, like factories and stuff like that. So walking around, making notes of addresses so that you can then say, go and send them a leaflet, beat the crowd. They're not on the market yet. So it's just another way to maximize that time. Like I said, you're there already, you're 15, 20 minutes early. It's good exercise as well, bit of fresh air because you've been sitting in the car, walk around and just maximize that time. Leaflets and taking addresses down, really important. Now, a lot of people tell me it's a bit old school, pen and paper. I prefer that. I prefer to write it down. I seem to remember it better, but I'm sure you can make notes on your phone. There's a lot of apps and things that you can use these days to make that a bit more beneficial. Then the third part is knowing the numbers. This is something I used to kind of call compare. I would choose certain parts of, say, where I live in Milton Keynes, and then I'd go into area specifics. And I'd say, okay, fine. In this area, a 3-bedroom house sells for X and it rents for Y. I'd work out the numbers and work out an average return. And I do that for the areas that I was interested in Milton Keynes, because a lot of areas are really big. If you say, oh, I invested Coventry or Birmingham or Manchester, they are massive areas. So I would try and be a bit more specific, but then I would know those average returns for the areas that I was interested in. So when an agent phoned me up, I A, knew what the price I need to pay for it, B, what it rented for, and also see what deposit I needed to find if I was getting angel investors or if I was going to purchase it outright. So it just gave me a bit of a heads up so that when I got there, I just wanted to view the house. Like I knew straight away it's going to tick the box. And even in a lot of cases, I would say to the agent, I'm happy to pay around this figure as long as it's standing and it's in good condition when I turn up. It just helps you a little bit. As such, like I said, this one is an interesting one, placing your offers strategically. Now, we always want to pay less for what the people put the property on the market for as standard. Not all the time. I have bought properties where they've been undervalued by an agent. So there is paying full market value sometimes, not knowing the true value. But like I said before, an agent is an integral part of your property journey. So upsetting them in the beginning is not going to get you anywhere. You're not going to make any friends and not make a good reputation for yourself. So what I would do is when a property was on the market and I felt that the offer I was going to put down wasn't comfortable for the agent, because you must remember, they have gone to the owner and sold them a dream of what they can get for the property. If you come 50, 60, 100 grand less than that, it makes them look bad in front of the vendor. So I would normally say things like, it's not really for me, this one. I'm kind of at a different level to what you guys are asking for. But if the vendor is interested and happy to talk around such and such a figure, then yeah, we can talk, we can maybe work something out. That way I've given them an offer indirectly. I've not upset them as such. And also thirdly, they know where I stand on that deal. So everybody has got the information in a very nice, soft way. They're not upset with me because I've told them already, I know this is not what you're looking for, but the offer's there. What has happened subsequently on 2 of my purchases is 3 or 4 months later, when sales have fallen through, they have then given that information to the vendor, which they have then come back to me and we've managed to make a deal, which in theory was off market because everybody thought it sold. So it's still a good way to put your offer forward, but just do it a bit more tactfully as such. And then setting reminders, something I think is vital to a lot of property investments. Double checking that you go back and you revisit the offers you put in. Very important. Think of property investing as farming. You plant the seeds, you go away, you come back, you water them, you weed the field, you go away. Eventually, one of them will grow. Some the birds might get, the weeds might strangle some, but some eventually grow. But the only way you know if they're going to grow is if you go back and you revisit them. And by doing this, it kind of keeps you motivated in a way that, yes, I put those offers forward, those are still burning, I'll come back to them. And that way, I would then know that if I got rejected or someone said no, whatever, I knew I still had some burning as such. But also, I would add deals into my deals and viewings chart that were already sold on the market because I knew that they ticked the box, because it was just part of the process to keep in touch and so on and so forth. And that's where it comes to the 4th point, of updating the deals and viewings chart immediately, keeping this in your mind fresh when it's there. I would color code things. So that would help me understand which agents were giving me more deals and which agents weren't, so that I could then obviously maintain those relationships. Or if I didn't have time, I would make sure I phoned certain agents because I knew they were more likely to give me a deal than if I didn't have the chance to phone the others as such. Toolkit. Things that I would have. My car was, as my wife called it, a traveling jumble sale at one point. I'd have business cards inside there. I'd have hunting briefs, which I'll give you guys an idea of what some of these things look like in a second. Leaflets, such, watch, because time was very important. You don't want to spend a lot of time doing things that aren't very helpful and useful to you. So I would time myself sometimes for viewings, particularly if they weren't going well, or for leaflets, or for walking around an area, because you could just dawdle, waste time, and it just wasn't effective. So I try and keep myself to a schedule. Set of ears, nosy neighbors, great people to chat to. You find out so much about an area, circumstance, who might want to sell, postmen, even police community support officers. I was talking to everybody, man. Everybody had a business card, and everybody knew in that area I was buying houses. Joined residents associations. That's a great place to learn about who's got a bad property that's bringing the area down and things like that. So really, really good thing to know. Letters. This is something very similar to viewings that I think is important to be consistent on. Letters regularly go a long way. You have no idea that if letter keeps landing in the person's letterbox the whole time, eventually something will bite, and usually something far greater than you expect. So I can't stress that enough. Letters go hand in hand with the pen and paper thing. Get the address, send them a letter. You can automate a lot of these things. There's a great website called iMail. They do it all for you. You just upload the document, upload the list via Excel, and they just send them out for you for less than what you pay for a second-class stamp. Really, really important. These are some ideas of business cards, just to give you guys an idea. Mine's the one on the top right. Very simple, not complicated. Does what it says in the tin. I buy houses. Didn't want to make it any flash or anything like that. You could do some of the other things where people have done rent now, we buy houses, rescue stuff and things like that. But what I managed to find the most effective for me was the one on the right. Very straightforward and very simple. Hunting briefs. People aren't aware of how these things work. It's a business card in a nutshell, but a far better way to stand out. When you go see an agent, just give them this on a piece of paper with all your details on. When they ask you for it, it sits on their desk. They're probably going to throw it in the bin. So when you see them again next month, take it out, say, yeah, to replace the one you filed in the bin last month. And that way you can then stand out from the crowd. And also, it gives a visual of what you are looking for and how you are doing things, which is very useful. Leaflets, so many things online that you can get ideas from and stuff like this. I've tried all the different colors, blue, pink, red, green, you name it. Sadly, if you've got a woman's name on the leaflet, you get more responses. I don't know why that is, but it works. I didn't question it. I just stuck my wife's name on there. And when they phone up, went, sorry, she's not here at the moment. I'll take a message and come back to you. But it worked. Just really, really effective. Waiting. A lot of people don't realize you've got to wait. It's part of the game. Sometimes be patient. You've planted the seeds. They don't just grow overnight. But this is when you can use your time to think of other ways to do things, different ways to do leaflets and things like that. But it is part of the process. A lot of property investors get frustrated in the beginning. It's not working. They want it to be ASAP. It is a bit of a waiting game as well. You just got to be patient. And when it's really busy, you'll wish you were still had the time to have patience and it was a waiting game as such. The thing of the 2 ears, 1 mouth, I mentioned that before, really, really important. Letters as well. I probably sent 1,500 letters over a couple of years. When I first started to get going, I was just constantly sending letters out because eventually something's going to stick. As such, change the idea, change certain things. And it was actually quite interesting because I changed the concept of my letters. And some people actually said to me, it was really fascinating that I think the 3rd or 4th design, that's when they responded, that individual. And they actually said, no, we saw your designs, but they never responded for like 9 months. So people do actually read these. You just aren't aware at the time. And then making yourself unforgettable. A couple of crazy ideas. Always turn up with something. Estate agents love chocolate. Seriously, I can't stress this enough. Turn up to the office, and if you're the person that's bringing chocolate, you're always going to be remembered. So really, really important. Never go empty-handed. And at Christmas time, take them something because very few people do. There's about 80 agents in Milton Keynes where I live, and I'm the only one that takes Christmas cards and gifts to people. And it's such a simple thing to stay in the forefront of their mind. And January is a great time to be in the forefront of their mind because it's a good time for repos and things like that. People stick together for Christmas. They want to put their property on the market in January. So this kind of keeps me ahead of the curve from that perspective as well. And then last but not least, my viewings chart. This has kept me motivated the entire time. When things aren't going well, when I'm putting offers on the table and I don't hear anything back, agents tell me to get lost and things like that. This shows me that I'm actually doing something and it's okay. And I keep stressing the whole time when it comes to viewings and things like this, and particularly the next one, offers and viewings chart. This shows you that every week I was doing 5 viewings, 3 offers. That was it. If I hit my target and nothing happened, that's cool. The next week I did the same thing. And eventually over time, I got comfortable getting excited about the process and not the outcome. And that's when deals started coming. Every 2 or 3 months, a deal would pop out. Every 2 or 3 months, a deal would pop out. So I wasn't working myself to bone, doing 50 viewings, 80 viewings, or whatever the case is a month. I was just doing 20. Very simple, very straightforward, but it's enough to keep the process moving, keep the ball rolling the whole time. That's all you got to do in property. Just keep pushing that envelope a little bit more at the end of the day. That's pretty much it.
Short and sweet, but there are a couple of things I want to drill down on there. There's so much there that I bet people hadn't thought about. What I really like, and I think, Vince, is one of the key things is the health check slide there, the viewings slide. Can you go into sort of a bit more detail of because, like you said, you can do loads and loads of viewings, but one of the key things is following up, isn't it?
Yeah. So the one on the right would be a viewings chart for the month when I'd finished. And you would see there's ticks next to it. There's different color codings and stuff like that. I also put my goals of how many deals I wanted to buy that year. The red ones were buy to let. The 2 yellow ones were HMOs. There was a pyramid on the side of how much equity I wanted to have. But the colors helped me decipher the agent. So then I would then phone that agent and all the blue squares that related to that agent. So that phone call would be like, I'd go through a list of all the houses I'd viewed with them over that month or previous months to see if they were still going through, if they hadn't fallen through, and so on and so forth. I'd put some notes on there, for example, if there was a possible for an extension, if I had land next to the side of it, just little things that reminded me about the numbers and also how much I offered. So I knew where I was. So every month, you don't have to think, oh, what did I offer? How much why did I want to buy that one? And so on and so forth. And then I would repopulate the one on my left with the ones that were still in the market. And if the other ones had, say, sold or completed, I'd take them out the equation, or I'd just keep them going if I was really interested, if the sale hadn't completed yet.
So in sort of more simplified terms, then you're looking at, say, property A, and then you'll be phoning about that. You view it, and then you phone the agent. How often and how many weeks?
4 weeks later on average.
Yeah, so every 4 weeks you'd be checking back in on property A. Yeah,
because what I came to realize is if you phone them too much, they get annoyed. They were like, I told you this already. So you kind of want to give the property time to simmer. It usually works out if the person then can't get a mortgage, or there's been an issue with the vendor changing something, or the seller's had a change of buyers had a change of circumstance. So 4 weeks was kind of a good simmering point that I worked out. And also it tied in quite nicely with me viewing them. So what I would do is I would try and see the agents as well in person, and then I'd bring a list of them. Right, so these are the ones I've viewed. Where are we with that? Do you have anything similar? And then you can kind of elaborate from there.
And in the interim, as well as all that, you're viewing other properties with that same agent and following up on all of those. So you could have, say, 6, 7, 8, 9 with the same agent that you're sort of cycling through, and eventually one drops out the bottom.
Yeah, so if you look at the one on the right here, you'll see that red and blue were the 2 common agents. They were the 2 biggest ones that I spent a lot of time with. And then I would also, if there were private deals, they had no colors. So those, if you see there's quite a few private deals with no colors, that's the people I sent a letter to. They responded. So like all the ones on the left-hand column from the right chart are all private deals as such. So that's how I knew. And those are the ones that it was a case of either a lease option, or you delayed purchase, or they just needed more time to talk to their family. So you kind of played the long game. I never tried to close any private deals immediately, because some people just needed time. I had that. I think one deal took me 2 years to complete on, because it just wasn't the right time for them. So instead of burning that bridge, you maintain the relationship with them, send them the letters and stuff, and then eventually, when the time is right, people will act really quickly, and you've just got to be ready for that.
You talk there again, mention there again letters, and I'm sure there's people asking, who are you actually writing to?
The owners.
The
So
owners.
the owners, there's ways you can find out who owns the property.
Mhm.
One of them is the land registry. Sometimes if you're doing bulk, I would just say homeowner or something like that. I would normally write a bit of a personal message in there of why I want to buy the property, because I've got a demand for, say, single families in this area, or there's a demand for rooms in this area, and so on and so forth. And that kind of, I got responses, sometimes not great responses. I had people telling me, why you think I want to sell my house, or whatever the case is, but they responded, and that's what I took away. I actually got a response, which was great. So it told me that what I was writing was working, and I just had to find the person that was in the situation at that time that wanted to sell.
And what's the craziest costume you've worn then to make yourself unforgettable?
I dressed up as an elf for Christmas with clogs.
I mentioned this to you before, but for the benefit of everyone at home, I unwittingly made myself unforgettable in one of my areas. For about 2 years, I had my clapped out old car. The driver's door didn't unlock properly, so I had to clamber in through the passenger side, and nearly every agent at some point after about 6 months or so of this happening said to me, oh yeah, have you still not got your car fixed, or you're the guy with the car who has to climb through the passenger seat? So
exactly,
making yourself memorable is definitely useful. Vince, just talking about the A.P.P.I now, again, as we are here talking about the A.P.P.I, would you agree that anyone can benefit from the support that the A.P.P.I has to offer?
Absolutely.
In what ways have you seen people benefit? Is it through advice that you've personally given, or?
So I'll be a bit selfish and tell you how I've benefited. Because a lot of people would say to me, you don't need to join because maybe you already understand how the game works. You've got a strategy, you know your area, so on and so forth. I actually benefit more from the people who are joining that are beginners, because they see things through different lenses. Whereas if you spend more time with too many sophisticated investors, they assume you know everything, and then they don't ask questions that make you think in a different way. And as you mentioned earlier, it's always changing. As soon as you think you don't need to learn anything, you're going to get run over. You're going to sit there on the train and someone's just going to pass you. And you see that with industries. You see that with the way the market's moving, the mortgage market now, the regulations, the planning permissions, the way that finance works. It's incredible how things are just changing all the time. And a strategy that did work in your area might not work anymore because someone's changed something, like the council thought it was a great idea to bring selective licensing on something.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, you read my mind. So that's a really clear message then for even experienced investors, is that you can still get support and help from other investors by being part of a collaborative group. Just thinking about being as a beginner, somebody actually, it was Dee who actually asked a question about how to fit this in as a newbie. So thinking back to when you first started then, Vince, how did you fit in all of this in and around your full-time life?
So I was a chef. I was working 70 hours a week, and the only time I could do this was on my break in between the lunchtime and evening shift. I had about a 2.5 hour break. So I'd sit down, have some lunch, and then I'd dedicate half an hour to phoning estate agents and booking viewings for my days off. That was it. I didn't try and do anything excessive. Some weeks I only managed to do one viewing. Some weeks I didn't do any, but I tried to allocate half an hour a day, uninterrupted. Phone was only for business. I didn't talk to anybody. I was sat in my car with my folder and my lunch, and I would allocate a solid half an hour of dedicated work. I tried to do more. When I started, I'm going to do 4 hours a day and whatever. It's just not feasible. Life gets in the way. You get so busy. And as Lindsay has known me for many, many years, the small step every day beats these massive leaps in a once in a while, hands down. And then you build momentum, which becomes nice. So I'm in a fortunate position now where I don't actually get as much time to do these sort of things anymore because I've built enough rapport with agents, managers, owners of agencies where they phone me up and say, look, we've got this. Are you interested? Or other investors. I found a deal. I can't fund it, or it's fallen through. Do you want it? And I think that's the best way for me. So to answer Dee's question, set yourself half an hour, 20, even if it's only 20 minutes, but make sure it's fully dedicated 20 minutes to this and nothing else. Lock yourself in the toilet if you need to hide from your kids. Go to a coffee shop where no one knows you. Do something. But what you'll realize over time, that compounding, one of my favorite books, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, or The Slight Edge, that effect over time, that 20 minutes every day, or even if it's only twice a week or 3 times a week, whatever that is, stick to that, but do it every week.
And it's difficult. I mean, and that's a message you've got to keep telling yourself, isn't it? Because I think it's very difficult in this day and age. God, I sound old. Because of the advent of these things and the internet, everything is just immediate, isn't it? And we have to sort of retrain our brains to a degree to get, like you say, that the slight edge principle or the compounding effect is that we do little steps. We can't climb a mountain in one massive leap. We're not Superman. So we have to be just mere mortals and do it little bit by bit.
One thing I at one point I sellotaped across my computer. So every time I open my computer, the message said, "Give time."
Oh, lovely. Give time.
Because I was getting so frustrated that it wasn't working. Why is it not happening? It's supposed to be that. And I just thought, you know what? It just takes time to build something worthwhile. Takes time and regular input. And as long as you bear that in mind, that could be to anything in your life, whether you want to get fit, if you want to run the couch to 5K, they do walk for X amount a day, then you jog a little bit or whatever, and it's slow build up. Property is the same thing. It's just a consistent, slow burn of stuff. And eventually, like I said, about the time thing, sometimes I wish I was still in that waiting phase. So, because there's just too many things going on, man.
Yeah. But it all comes back to your, I mean, I keep coming back to your health check deal sheet there, because that is kind of on paper, isn't it? Am I right that's on paper is you doing little bits of effort to get to the final deal, or to get to
so
the
if
deal.
You look at if I go here to the viewings thing, that's why I broke down. I realized I could manage 5 viewings a week. That was kind of my comfortable zone, where if worst case I could do them all in one day, and I could then put 3 offers in afterwards. So I used to try to do 10 or 15 a week, and it just became unfeasible. I got demotivated. So I kind of just chunked it down to 5 a week. I mean, I actually started with 1 to start with, because I thought, I can just do 1, that's easy. And then I upped it to 2 and 3, and then I realized my sweet spot was 5. And then, like I said, every 2 or 3 months, something would drop out, something would not go sell, would fall through or something like that, and that's when I would get stuff.
Terrific. Vince, thank you. I think you've shared far more than was planned this evening, which is amazing. I mean, guys, can you imagine being able to pick Vince's brain like this at an A.P.P.I networking event? Thank you, Vince. Really appreciate your time.
No problem.
Now, like Vince, everybody within the A.P.P.I really wants to help as many landlords, investors as they can. It's not just networking and sharing. I hope can you see that? Can you see that we've got more to offer? Lots of thank yous coming through there, Vince, in the chat box. Now, Lindsay, I am going to come back to you now. We were about to talk about, during Vince's internet outage, about the application process and joining the A.P.P.I. We have a vetting system so that we ensure that we've got like-minded people joining us. Can you give us a little bit of an insight how the application and the vetting process works, or what it's there for, if you like?
Yeah, the vetting process is to make sure that you firstly are happy to sign our code of conduct, so to become part of the good people. We want to know who you are, where you invest, what you've got up to, perhaps potentially what training you've been through. We don't do a credit score, of course. We don't check the qualifications. We don't take out references. We want you to be open with a relatively large amount of information about you. But one of the benefits is that there is a potential to have a buddy system throughout the UK. So you will find that as a member, what happens is you can link up to and you can identify fellow members in the same geographical area where you live and fellow members where you're actually investing as well. So that's all part. So the vetting is actually, it's vetting and collaboration. We're bringing you in so you can meet other people like-minded straight away. So and I guess in truth, like any professional association, then if somebody is breaching the code of conduct, not that that would ever happen, but it may happen once in history, we would reserve the right to say, hang on a minute, excuse me, this isn't right. And so we call you to account. So that's the joining and vetting process. You just full disclosure, and with that disclosed information, we actually can help you.
Okay, sounds quite simple.
Yeah.
Well, let's welcome our next guest who has passed that vetting process. Harj, are you there? Good evening.
Hello everyone, nice to meet you all.
Great to see you, Harj. Thanks for joining us. Now, first of all, it'd be great to hear a little bit about you, how you got involved in property, and where you are now. So in 30 seconds or less. No, I'm kidding. You can take a little bit longer than that.
Yes, so I actually have a background in accounting and finance, but I never actually really enjoyed my profession. So my husband actually encouraged me to pursue my passion, and I got into property last year. And I did my own research, purchased my own first buy-to-let, and then decided that this is something I would like to do full time. But I didn't feel I had the knowledge behind me. So then I invested in my education. I went on to property training, and now I'm actually currently scaling up my property portfolio.
Terrific. So you haven't really been at it very long, which I know is going to resonate a lot with a number of people who are joining us this evening. So the A.P.P.I, you sort of got some knowledge, you got some education, you bought a property. So the A.P.P.I appeared in your life. And you decided to get involved. What was it that sort of compelled you to join? Was there a specific aspect, or was it a number of things?
Yeah, so I actually saw Lindsay on one of my training courses, and I just absolutely fell in love with his energy when he was, sharing his knowledge, skills, and experience with us all. And I really felt that it would be so amazing to learn by, really experienced individuals in the industry, and connect with them, and just grow. I really feel like a community is really key to everyone's growth, because you're constantly interacting with like-minded people, or just always learning something. I attend the networking events every month, and every time I attend, I just feel like I'm learning something new, or picking up something which I wouldn't have thought about to actually apply in my day-to-day, just trying to enhance my business basically in property. I also feel that oh sorry, my mind's just gone blank.
It's okay, take a breath.
It's definitely A.P.P.I's integrity also aligns well with mine. I do feel that to be a good landlord, you have to follow all the right protocols, and in return you would get good tenants as well. So it's just a win-win for everyone, and you're growing. And yeah, that's why I joined A.P.P.I, because I just felt like the community is just key to growth.
So a lot of reasons there, and some very attractive aspects for you. Answer me that. Do you think you would have progressed without some of the advice that you've got from being a member?
No, so I do feel that with the community, there's investors at all levels. So there's newbies like myself that join all the time. There's people that are a lot more experienced. They've got different strategies as well in property, which is just, it's just amazing, because, there's so many different strategies, and people are constantly learning, growing. And, like, had you asked me last year, would I be doing, converting an 8-bed property into 2 semi-detached properties, doing a title split, I would have said no, absolutely no chance, because if I'm going from one buy-to-let to like doing something like this, it's at a completely different level. So that I feel like if it wasn't my community that I'm constantly interacting with, seeing what they're doing, what deals they're doing, how they're doing things, like it's just, it really encourages you basically to just keep going and grow basically. So yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot a bit, because we've had 1 or 2 questions from sort of newbies, and so let's draw on some of your experience. If there was sort of 1 or 2 key tips that you could give people who are who have sat and done some courses and they've done a little bit of research, are there any sort of tips that you could give to say to really sort of help them get going?
I do feel always interact with the community, because you will grow, you will learn, and sometimes, like even myself, I've been there where I think, oh, I can't do something. Actually you can. It's just maybe the people that you're surrounding yourself with that are telling you no, you can't. And also there's a solution to everything. Like people are constantly telling me, oh, I can't do this, oh, I can't do that, but actually you can. It's just that someone might not have had the knowledge to be able to advise you in the best way. And we can all do this. You can do whatever you want to do, and it's just finding the right contacts to be able to do it.
So it's asking for help in amongst the community.
You're not alone as well. Like I used to think, oh, I have to do everything myself. No, you don't. Like and some people in certain communities feel like they can't share or say certain things, but actually you can. So well,
that's sort of what I was going to say, was that it kind of ties back into what both Lindsay and Vince have said, that sometimes it can feel lonely, but if you connect with other people and collaborate, you can get going. So
Simon, also the networking events, we all update each other on current affairs, which is so important every month, because everyone might have a question about something, but then Lindsay's always said to us at the start of every meeting, no question is a silly question. Share your knowledge, and everyone's just growing. So it's excellent every month.
And that asking the questions, it helps overcome the fear somewhat, which I know 1 or 2 people in the chat, I'm looking down here at the chat box, 1 or 2 people have said they feel a bit fearful. So Harj, finally, how do you see that the A.P.P.I differentiates from other groups and organizations that are out there in the industry?
Firstly, our community is unique. There's no we're all a very unique personality, and have different experiences, and also all of the community are vetted first. So I do feel like I can really trust everyone, because they have gone through the vetting process. So that's where I feel like I trust this community.
Terrific. Okay, so there's a lot of trust there, integrity. Fantastic. Harj, thank you very much for your time as well this evening, and sharing with us your insights and your experiences so far with the A.P.P.I.
Thank you for having me on the webinar, everyone.
You're very welcome. So far, everyone, I'm sure you can see that we've got a lot of great support within the A.P.P.I. So just so I can get a little bit of a gauge of where we are, who actually can see the value of this community? Give me a yes if that's you in the chat box there. It'd be great to sort of get a feel for who's sort of getting to see what's what. Brilliant. Okay, so there's a number of you there. Now you can also enjoy more than just your membership. It is a network, as we've said, but there's also a library of information on our website that is for members only, in the members area on the website. There's lots of useful documents, there's lots of how-to guides, and we're building on that. So something like Vince's tips on following up, that's something that we're going to get into. 1 or 2 people have asked about financing deals. That's a whole other webinar, but we might do a bit of financing in a later episode of the series. But we've got lots of information and useful documents within the members area, and you can use this membership all the time, simply because it will make your investing life a lot easier. Now, I don't know how much help you will get from the A.P.P.I. That's sort of up to you. You've got to ask, right? I mean, I think Harj was saying there, if you ask, you get some answers. If you don't ask, well, that's the stupid question. But by joining us, I do know that it will help you progress in a more dynamic way than you can just left to your own devices, under your own steam, if you will. Lindsay, I asked Harj there how the A.P.P.I differentiates to other organisations. How do you see that it's different to other established bodies?
I think it's something I mentioned earlier on this evening, which is because it's built by investors for investors, and it's not a concertinaed set of groups of people or lists of people or members of something else. We're building it from the bottom up. So therefore, it will, by definition, evolve into something that we all want and we're proud of. So, for example, the professionalism, I visualize it's not happening quite yet all the time, but I would visualize that everybody will have the A.P.P.I logo and kite mark on their websites, on their business cards. I would visualize estate agents taking notice of the fact that you're part of the association. I visualize more of this in a second, of course, when you get me to summarize the benefits, but that lenders will actually, not yet, but my vision, or our vision, should I say, is that they will give you discounted deals, better deals, and so on and so forth, because you're a member of the A.P.P.I and you're prepared to stand up and be counted.
And to achieve that, we've got a working group sort of building relationships and developing on those partnerships. Okay, well, I think the big question is that everyone has got in their mind at the moment is, how do they actually get involved? So Lindsay, tell us, how do you actually get involved and join the A.P.P.I?
Well, I can see that one of our team has been putting up the website all the way through the evening in terms of what to click on and join us.
Okay.
You ideally pay £20 per month on a regular basis, or pay so that's £20 per month, so that's £240 per annum, or £200 for the year. And I don't know whether we're putting up a what's it called, a barcode thingy bob tonight or not.
We will do at some point, I think, a QR code.
A QR code. And that's how you join. Then fill in a relative, I think, compared with a lender application, relatively simple application form. We will welcome you with open arms and get stuck in and get involved.
Okay, so the link there in the chat box, everybody, is a copy and paste link. It's not a hyperlink. And I am just testing that now as we speak. Copy, put it in my browser, click, paste, the A.P.P. Yes, it works. Okay, so that's how you get involved. As Lindsay said, it's £20 per month by direct debit, or an annual one upfront of £200, which is terrific value for money, Lindsay. Why don't you run through in 50 seconds or less what everybody gets for that 20 quid?
Okay, so the competition, for those of you who don't know, who haven't seen this webinar before, I try and hit this at a record time each time, but I don't want to belittle the benefits. So when you're ready, 3, 2, 1, go. We are developing a list of preferred traders by geographical area. We give you an updated recommended reading list, a member exclusive monthly Solve My Property Problem Network meeting where no question is silly, a member exclusive Facebook and WhatsApp group, invitation to our annual conference and awards ceremony, loads and loads of how-to documents and videos, listing on interactive members map and direct you to find buddies in your place where you live and place where your strategy is, discounts and incentives in approved industry sectors, a clear code of conduct to give you protection for tenants and landlords alike, part of a growing collective voice to councils and parliament, and regular commentary on government papers.
Oh, not bad. Just over the 50 seconds that time, Lindsay. But that said, compared to previous webinars, we've got a few extra features there. So I think you did pretty well. We talked about partnerships, a couple of financial institutions we've got involved, and we're having discussions.
We're involved with Together, a Bridging company. They have a serious discount for your first bridge, which actually more than covers the membership. We've just got involved with a company called Stacks,
Yeah.
We've got involved with Blue Bricks, which is a monthly magazine. We've got involved with Property Support Network, which is another property support group who are doing a collaboration with us. Anything I've missed, Simon?
No, I mean, just to touch on a couple of those things, Property Support Network, we are sort of our knowledge. Stacked is a very interactive platform for building your property business. You can really digitalize Vince's paper and pen deal sheets and put it all there if you want to. So lots of strategic partnerships that we're building on. So
You've frozen a little bit, Simon, so I'm not sure whether people can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
How's now? Okay.
Simon's frozen again.
Bugger.
No, it's okay.
Oops, did I just swear?
You
can hear me now.
Yes,
I've just sworn live. Well, not Ofsted. I can't remember. But anyway, what I was trying to say was, by now, I think everyone, you can understand, or you're beginning to realise that being part of this organisation, you'll be able to learn from others. You know, you might have been investing for a while, and I can bet you've changed strategy more than once. You've changed your way of working. You've definitely forgotten stuff. Your membership problem network, the buddying system, we've got also an interactive map where you can see where other members are, and once you're a member you can get in touch with them and collaborate and work together. Being part of something like this, it will help you remind yourself of stuff that you've forgotten. You can learn new techniques, keep yourself updated, and always be learning. On top of that, you're part of a network that is closely watching the changes in legislation. We've got, I think, in the region of 170, 180 important pieces of legislation in landlording at the moment. And many of those are set to change with the Renters Reform Bill. We're keeping a close eye on that. And your membership means that you can be closely connected by 1 or 2 degrees of separation to those that make the policy. We're working on building up a monthly digest of legislation changes so that you can keep yourself informed. Now, I asked earlier if you can see the value, and a number of you said yes, and you put yes in the chat box, and that tells me that you're serious about joining a community like this. So if you are honest and sincere with that answer, then now's the time to click that link that you see in the chat box. If Michelle, you can put that up again, please. The link that you'll cut and paste that will take you through to the joining page. We are here to sort of give you a bit of hard love, if you like. It is hard to be successful by yourself. You only have one brain and one pair of hands and 2 ears, but sometimes getting another head and another pair of hands involved. Does that sort of make sense to everybody? I hope it does. So let's walk you down the path of success. We'll be with you every step of the way. People like Vince, people like Lindsay, Harge as well, they're there ready to share their information. Actually, Vince made a very generous offer at the beginning, off air, just before we started. He's willing for the first 10 people to actually click through and join up and fill in the application form. The first 10 people, he's very generously offered to do a 15-minute one-to-one and analyze how you do your viewings and how you can best improve the whole process. So giving you some really clear insights on how you can tweak your system to make sure those offers stick. So that's for the first 10 people that use the link and actually fill in the application form and click submit and send and actually join up. So that's one of your first sort of benefits of team support that you'll get from us. And anyone can join this, as we've said, and anyone can be successful, because a collaborative network works better than an individual. So all I've got to say now is thank you very much to Harge for joining us. Harge Pawar, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Vince, thank you as well, and thank you for your very generous offer of the one-to-one.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Vince. And thank you, Simon, and thank you, everybody, for listening.
My pleasure. And Lindsay Hopkins, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And also, if you don't want to cut and paste, There's a QR code there, everyone, that you can scan that and get through to the joining page. Thank you very much. And I hope to meet you all in person soon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.